Imagine living in a town where fear is more powerful than truth, where a whisper from your neighbor can destroy your life, where children's screams are treated as evidence and innocent people are sentenced to death. This isn't a horror movie. This isn't some medieval nightmare. This happened right here in America, in the small Puritan town of Salem, Massachusetts, in 1692. The Salem witch trials remain one of the darkest, most haunting chapters in American history. But the truth about what really happened, the truth your school books never told you, is even more disturbing than the myths. If you're already hooked, stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll understand why Salem wasn't just about witches. It was about fear, power, greed, and the danger of losing sight of reason. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Drop it in the comments. I actually read them. Let's go back to the late 1600s. The people of Salem were Puritans, deeply religious, living by strict rules, and constantly afraid of sin. Life was hard. Harsh winters, failed crops, disease, attacks from native tribes, and on top of that, they believed the devil himself was always lurking, waiting to corrupt them. In this world of constant fear, the idea of witches wasn't just superstition. It was real to them. Witches were seen as servants of Satan, secretly working to destroy Christian communities. And in 1692, that fear turned deadly. It all began in the home of Reverend Samuel Parris. His young daughter Betty and his niece Abigail Williams began to act strangely. They screamed, they thrashed, they contorted their bodies in bizarre ways. The village doctor examined them and declared the unthinkable: witchcraft. That one word spread through Salem like wildfire. Soon, more young girls claimed they were tormented by invisible spirits. They pointed fingers at neighbors. They cried out in courtrooms. They claimed to see ghosts only they could witness. And in a society that believed children were innocent, their words carried dangerous weight. The first 3 women accused were outsiders: Sarah Good, a homeless beggar; Sarah Osborne, a woman who had scandalously defied Puritan norms; and Tituba, Reverend Parris's enslaved servant from the Caribbean. It's no coincidence. The accusations began with those who were already vulnerable, already looked down upon. But soon, the circle widened. One after another, respected townspeople were accused. Martha Corey, a loyal churchgoer; Rebecca Nurse, a grandmother loved by many;
even prominent landowners and community leaders. Trials were held. But let me be clear. These weren't trials the way we think of them today. No real evidence, no fair defense, spectral evidence. The claim that someone's ghost or spirit appeared in a dream was enough to condemn.
Imagine being told you must prove your innocence against visions in someone else's sleep. Over the course of the hysteria, more than 200 people were accused of witchcraft. 19 were hanged. One man, Giles Corey, was pressed to death with heavy stones because he refused to enter a plea. Dozens of others rotted in jail, shackled in filth, awaiting trial. Think about that for a second. Entire families torn apart, farms abandoned, neighbors turning on each other, all because of fear and lies. If this hit you, hit that like button. But here's what your school may not have told you. The Salem witch trials weren't just about superstition. They were fueled by deeper forces. Land disputes played a role. If someone was accused of witchcraft, their property could be seized. Power struggles within the church and community also fed the frenzy, and the accusations often reflected old grudges, neighbors settling scores through the deadliest weapon of all, accusation. This wasn't just paranoia. It was politics. It was greed. It was control. And then, as quickly as it began, it ended. By 1693, doubts grew too strong to ignore. Prominent citizens, even the governor's own wife, were accused. The madness had gone too far. Courts began to reject spectral evidence. Executions slowed and finally stopped. But for those already dead, it was too late. In the years that followed, shame and regret settled over Salem. Survivors tried to rebuild their lives. Families of the accused fought to clear their loved ones' names. In 1702, the trials were declared unlawful. In 1711, the colony passed a bill restoring rights to some of the accused and offered compensation to their families. But the scars remained. And maybe that's why Salem still haunts us today. Because the witch trials weren't really about witches. They were about human fear, the kind of fear that blinds us, the kind of fear that can destroy communities, pit people against each other, and take innocent lives. It's a warning that when fear and hysteria replace truth and reason, tragedy follows. Let's bring this closer to home. Think about our world today. How often do we see rumors spread like wildfire? How often do we see people condemned in the court of public opinion with little evidence? How often do fear and suspicion take the place of facts? That's why Salem matters. It isn't just history, it's a mirror, a reminder that we must guard against the same mistakes. So now, I want to ask you, if you had lived in Salem in 1692, what would you have done? Would you have spoken out or stayed silent to save yourself?
Drop your thoughts in the comments. Where are you watching from? And what time is it? I want to know. And hey, if stories like this hit you, subscribe to Blip Boom. We uncover the hidden truths, the forgotten histories, and the mysteries that textbooks often leave out. Share this video with someone who loves history, because the Salem witch trials aren't just a story of the past. They're a warning for the present and the future. The Salem witch trials. 200 accusations, 19 executions, 1 man crushed to death, and a community torn apart by fear. The untold truth isn't about witches, it's about us, and what happens when we let fear control our lives.